I appreciate you guys' time. Listen, we're gonna move, I believe we have a panel coming up next. The Pasadena Photography Arts Open Show, When the Students Become the Teachers. Okay, I like that. So I guess we're gonna call them up now. We have our panelists are gonna be Teala Avery, Jingyi Che, Tommy Milutin, and Christina Yao, and it'll be moderated by Ellen Friedlander and Rollence Patugan. I hope I got everybody's name right. We can fight in the parking lot afterwards, okay? Give it up for you guys. Give it up for your panel coming up here.
Give it up for Black Pedro, everybody. Black Pedro. Thanks, brother. Afternoon, everybody.
We are really, whoops, here we go. Can you hear me? You can hear me. Welcome to Open Show. My name is Ellen Friedlander, and I'm co-director of Pasadena Photography Arts. Today, I'm joined by my co-host.
What's good, Inglewood? I'm Rollence, Patugan.
The theme today, as you can see, is Open Show is when the students become the teachers. Close to my mouth.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and before we go on, I want to introduce a little bit about our history. We were founded in 2012 by Bill and Kathy Wishner, and at the time they found themselves constantly going to the west side of LA for everything art-related and photography. They looked at each other and said, I think we can do better. And this led them to found the PPA in order to bring more photography community to the local East Side LA. From our humble beginnings of intimate gatherings at the Armory of the Arts in Pasadena, today, PPA, we are proud to have a global presence. Our mission is to promote diverse photography projects by emerging and established photographers worldwide through virtual and in-person events like today.
As Ellen said, we have programs that promote emerging and established talent. Two of our programs are here called Forum and Open Show. Forum is a public gathering where we invite industry professionals to share and discuss their experience with a live audience. It's very much what you guys are going to see on this stage with other discussion panels. In our organization, we've had guests that include established photographers, museum curators, photo bookmakers, and more. The other program we have is called Open Show, which we will be presenting in a few moments here. Open Show is also a public event where we have a curated selection of photographers that we invite to showcase and discuss their work. Today's Open Show is called When the Students Become the Teachers. So we wanted to spotlight the next generation of photographers. So our open call went out to current students and recent graduates. So if any of you out there who would like to showcase your work with us at any stage of your creative path, whether you're a student or beyond, I encourage you guys to go to pasadenaphotographyarts.org and sign up to any amount. Today's event has been sponsored by Bill Wishner, who is the founder of Pasadena Photography Arts. And Bill is here today. I want to recognize him. Thank you so much for having us here. Without you, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you.
And we have a forum coming up this July 28th. It's virtual. You too can be there. It will be a wonderful conversation with street photographer Jeff Larson, who is a previous Open Show presenter turned podcast host. He hails from Boston and created the Crit House. You can learn more about this program by visiting our website and signing up there. Hope to see you then. It will be a great virtual show.
All right, let's get this party started, shall we? What we're going to do is we're going to present all of these 4 photographers that were selected. And I'm really excited because they all come from various parts of the US and beyond. So before we introduce them, we're going to actually reveal a fun fact about them, and then we're going to ask them to come onto the stage. So I'll start. My fun fact is when I was studying photography at Santa Monica College, I interned for Esteban Oriol, who was our keynote speaker previously. So for me, being here on this stage is a full circle moment because it is a great honor for me to have shared the stage with the legendary photographer from Los Angeles. Ellen, do you have a fun fact?
Well, my fun fact is I lived in Hong Kong for 15 years, raising my children and working with a Hong Kong-based photographer, which informed me greatly. So that's my fun fact.
It's amazing.
And with that, I'd like to have my first presenter, photographer. She has been to 16 countries, hailing all the way from Griswold, Connecticut. Let's welcome Teala Avery.
Hey. Right. Our next photographer originally came to the US to study astrophysics and electrical engineering, but somehow ended up becoming an artist. I love those stories. Originally from China, but coming to you via Bloomington, Indiana, please give it up for Jingyin Cha. Come on up.
Our next artist says the springtime makes him sneezy, so please excuse his sneezes during his presentation. Coming from San Francisco, please welcome Tommy Milutin.
Right. And finally, our next photographer admitted to having over 112,000 photos on her phone. Can someone in here show her how to download those images onto a computer, please? Thank you. We'll talk after the show, okay? Making her way from our neighbors to the north, from Calgary, Canada, please welcome Christina Yao. All right, let's have a seat, Ellen. Have a seat. Okay, we're about to get started here, and the way this is going to work is that we're going to showcase the body of work from each of these artists individually. And then after, while the slideshow is running, each artist will have an opportunity to talk about themselves and the background of the work. And once that is done, Ellen and I, with time remaining, will ask a few questions, have a discussion with the artist, and then we'll repeat that process for every single presenter, okay?
Our first, I'd like to introduce Teala Avery. She is a graduate, a 2024 graduate of Spelman College, where she earned her BA in photography. As a photographer, Teala is a translator, using the camera to bridge the spirits of those willing to look, to confront and to be observed. Today, she is here.
Started this project was to create visual love letters to the people that uplifted me and nurtured me through my time at Spelman. And it transformed a little bit as I was photographing. When I have a project and I start with an idea, it can be a little bit complicated to shoot with that idea in mind, because sometimes it can feel a little bit restricting in terms of, okay, but I'm gonna take this photo, but does it actually relate to what I want to say? And so as I was doing my thesis, I had to let go of that idea, that original idea I had of creating love letters, because I don't think it was a good way to lead where I wanted to go, but I don't think that that was gonna be my ending place. And so the way I approached going through this was photographing just to photograph. Like, I'm gonna photograph whatever interests me. I had some shoots planned. I had some things that I was like, okay, I need to bring my camera, because bringing your camera can be a little bit hard. The weight of it, mentally and physically, sometimes it can be something that you don't want to deal with, or that I don't want to deal with. But I realized in this last year, I was like, I need to bring my camera everywhere. And so I just shot whatever I wanted to shoot, and I needed to take advantage of those moments where I was like, okay, I think I need to photograph something right now, because it can be very easy to ignore that feeling of, oh, I need to photograph this right now. Especially if I'm creating a bunch of portraits and photographs, looking at it for a moment, being like, okay, how can it speak to me outside of visual aspects, really? And so what brought us together is belief in terms of the process. Of course, it was a physical one and a technical one in terms of photography, But it was really an emotional one too, because each shoot had its own meanings and its own origins, and it also had the emotional steps that I had to take in order to feel like I could photograph this or feel comfortable photographing this. But also a lot of times I was shooting from an uncomfortable place as well. And so the emotional part of what brought us together as Belief is really the bedrock of the project. The relationships that I was able to create at Spelman were ones that I didn't think I was capable of, even at the beginning of college. And so as I'm creating my thesis project, it just felt natural to create this project that celebrated the relationship that I was creating with myself and creating with others, and then creating with the world as well.
Thank you so much. Great. I have a question for you, if I could start with that. I'm a portrait photographer myself, and when I was in school, and even to this day, I find it difficult to photograph people that's very close to you, maybe family and friends, because they don't take it seriously. You know, like, what are you doing here, Rollence? Are you done yet? Do you know what you're doing, kind of thing? So my question to you is, how were you able to get such stunning poses and very emotive poses from people that you know? Was it a challenge?
Yeah. Family can be...
Family.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for the people that I photograph, because I am not often in front of the camera, like the professional camera, unless I'm taking a self-portrait. Silliness that is able to come out, and it also doesn't feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like, even if there's that pressure of like, okay, are you done yet? It's like, okay, just hold on 1 second, almost done. We're gonna get through this. And so, yeah, it feels like there's a lot more freedom there sometimes.
Thank you.
Well, I have a little knowledge that you have been awarded the Women's Photograph Award, and you got a grant. So very proud of that. I'd like you to share a little bit about what that grant's allowing you to do.
Yeah, so I am a part of the class of 2025 Women Photograph Project grantees, and that was awarded to me last year, and the project that I proposed was one that's based in Japan, and it started with this curiosity of wanting to explore the connection and the pull that people feel towards Japanese culture, even if they're not Japanese. And so that is where that project stemmed from. And as I've been thinking about how to go about that project, of course it is important to look externally, but I also had to look internally as well. Like, why am I feeling pulled to do this project here? I studied abroad in Japan in 2023, and then I went again in 2024. And so it's vital for approaching that project. It's vital for me to also ask myself, okay, but why Japan? And as an artist, when questions are asked of you, especially emotional ones, it can feel very important that some type of answer is said that sounds really profound, but sometimes you don't know where it's coming from, or I don't know what space it's coming from. I just know that it's something that is calling to me in that moment. And so I will be going to Japan after this to continue that project and explore why I'm feeling called to do that for myself and for others.
Well, you're definitely being called. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Teala. Let's give it up for Teala Avery.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next presenter. Jingyin Che is a lens-based interdisciplinary artist from Yangzhou, China, and a current MFA candidate in photography at Indiana University. He examines institutional space, migration, and geopolitical tension after using cinematic scenarios and dark humor to reveal the contradictions between public narratives and lived realities. Today, he is presenting his series entitled Harmless to be Proven. Go ahead, Jingyin.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. This project grew out of my ongoing thinking about how people experience uncertainty within academic and institutional space. I'm interested in how identity belonging can become unstable in environments that appear orderly, professional, and neutral. I'm not focusing on one specific event. I'm more interested in a condition that slowly becomes part of everyday life and is often difficult to put into words. I want to begin with this early photograph. At this stage, I was already very drawn to institutional interiors, especially like classroom, laboratory space. I was interested in how these environments could still carry a psychological weight, even when they were empty. Their odor and stillness often seems to hide something more tense underneath. I also realized that empty space is not enough. The psychological tension I want to address needs space, objects, and body to appear together. That realization gradually led me toward stage photography. Here I use institutional public space together with a word map and scattered academic articles to suggest how larger social and historical force enters academic life. What first appears to be an ordinary setting begins to feel shaped by research, distance, and uncertainty. The scholar seated at the center, shown only from the back. He does not really read fully as a person. Instead, he's more like an object. That is important to me because it points to the way people think through their function, role, productivity, rather than their full presence of human being. Throughout this project, I'm interested not only in what happens in this space, but also in how they quietly observe fear and uncertainty. In this photograph, the tension becomes more material and more absurd. The scene is staged, but is built from objects that suggest a scientific procedure. The dissecting table, dinosaur fossil, and the protective suit in the background all help a visual structure of theatrical and clinical. What I want here was a sense of dark absurdity. The image feels clinical, but also slightly theatrical and grotesque. I wanted these familiar research elements to become unstable, as if the logic of space had started to collapse inward. Rather than describing a specific event, the image builds a psychological reality in which ordinary academic materials begins to feel fragile and quietly threatening. This image is especially important to me because it speaks to internal pressure. Sometimes, the strongest tension is not external, but also something people begin to carry with themselves, within themselves. They become more aware of their speech, behavior, and presence. And that awareness can create distance and isolation. The pale blue steel and glass structure in the image does not only enter the figures, does not only enclose the figures, it also creates a shared atmosphere of pressure. Under this large framework, no one seems fully outside of the space, Everyone is shaped by it in some way. And that is where the absurdity of the image comes from. I want to end with the image of the growth chamber. For me, this photograph brings many parts of projects together. A growth chamber is supposed to support life. It creates the right condition for plants to grow. But at the same time, it is also a controlled and enclosed space where everything is measured, organized, and observed. In the image, the plants are growing, but the human body appears hidden, tired, and almost absorbed by the environment. I was interested in the contradiction between care and control, protection and confinement. This image does not offer a clear ending. Instead, it leaves the viewer with a question. What does it mean to grow inside a system that also contains you? That uneasy space is where I want to project to remind. And thank you again for being here this afternoon. Thank you everyone who supported this.
Thank you, Junyan. Thank you. Do you have any questions for Ellen?
I do. I noticed that in a couple of the photographs, there is a glass container with an octopus in it. I want to know, was that it looks like it was very intentional, and what was the psychological intention behind that, sorry.
Yes, I intend to choose this octopus, and actually there are multiple different layers meaning behind that. For me, the most obvious one is these things are really flexible, and they need to change their identity. They need to camouflage themselves to feel and try to recarry this past again. And yeah, they see some potentials.
Can I have your parents meet my parents? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Junyan. Amazing, amazing. Okay, moving on to the next presenter. Yeah.
Okay, our next artist is Tommy Milutin. He is a photographer, educator, and poet based in San Francisco. His work explores constant states of upheaval and reestablishment across intersections of anomie, social stratification, state and internal surveillance, memory, and the negative effects of unchecked privatization. He utilizes his camera to engage with historically significant processes, buildings, and public spaces across geographies. Tommy's body of work presented today is entitled Cities as Contested Terrain. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. There it is. Okay. I'm really happy to be here. I am originally from the Bay Area, so I came down for this amazing festival. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of present some of my work. And as Ellen said, this project took place in Boston, but it was really kind of a cumulative project and process that came from a lot of movement and mobility in my life, especially during my adolescence. I went to 5 academic institutions in 4 years, 4 different high schools. I ended up at a community college doing credit recovery because of all that movement. But I ended up getting a scholarship to Boston College, which was a difficult transition coming from like a Bay Area background for a myriad of reasons. But I found myself there. So this project is, similar to Teala, is a final project for a film photography class that I took my senior year. I got into the medium rather late, but I've had a lot of really strong supports. Professor Giovanna Jones, Professor Rosemary Engstrom, my really good friend and like collaborative partner, Almani Berthe, who hails from Harlem, New York. He's watching this live stream. And I had a lot of people push me to kind of submit to festivals like this. I shoot a lot, you know, kind of mixed media. I wrote a lot of poetry during institutions. The term implies a struggle or negotiation between different groups or ideas, often involving competing interests and resources. And when I started this project, there were 2 aspects. There's kind of the built environment. I studied urban planning and public policy a lot. So you have the built environment, so like schools and firehouses and parks and highways and neighborhoods that are destroyed in order to build highways and all of these things. So that's a contested aspect of living and being in an urban space. But you also have the contested aspect of these kind of institutions that are more invisible, such as education, the medical system, the family. These units are cornerstone and foundational for people in building community and like surviving. But these things are interrupted by these processes and actors that are more about profit and development sometimes than human life. And I wanted to analyze that. So again, a lot of these photos talk about issues of housing. I'm from the Bay Area. It's one of the most expensive places in the world. And I have familial roots, I suppose, that lived in the Bay and established themselves in the Bay back when it was agricultural largely. And today it's anything but that. I wanted to look at things like urban zoning. I want to look at the history of public transit in Boston. It's very interesting. Boston has the oldest transit system. The first subway was actually established in Boston, not New York. And these are some members of the Boston Carmen's Union. So throughout this process, I was like, okay, I want to capture spaces that represent institutions, government, the history of settler colonialism in the United States, of erasure, of taking away land that is just land and that is used by people in partnership. And I wanted to also talk about gentrification, as in this photo, and kind of these processes that are continuously happening. And like HUD has been defunded. Public housing, they tried it in the 80s, Reagan economics happened, and there's not too much public housing anymore. And I just want people to interact with spaces differently, I suppose. A lot of this came from not being able to have any sense of community, feeling disoriented, and trying to make sense of the world. This is the Somerville Theater. It's a really cool theater, just like this venue. It's old. It's one of the old movie palaces. It dates back to the early 1900s. It was a vaudeville theater for a time. It still stands today. It's had different stages, different owners, all of those things. But contested terrain is often cultural, and it differs based on generations. So a lot of these shots were taken so that I could kind of have this dialogue between the Boston of the past and the Boston of today. And this is a big photo for me. It's probably the cornerstone one. Like when we are in these contested spaces, when we are struggling, when there's so much change going on around us, where do we go in case of emergency? What are our contingency plans? And I think for me, there's been a lot of instability to various degrees, and it's kind of been like you actually have federal policies that allow working class people to become homeowners, but that's not the case anymore. So people are maxed out. People are leaving in droves, and it's just it's daunting, and I think important to reflect on the fact that all this happened super within the span of a generation. Fast, and the housing element. I've kind of hopped around in my professional journey, in my academic interests. I was interested in journalism for a long time. I really wanted to look into the statewide housing element, right, because of this shortage that we have. And there's not an easy way to fix it. Right now, it's these things called accessory dwelling units in LA. I'm sure y'all have heard of them, maybe, and definitely in the Bay. There's no space to build because they messed up so bad, essentially. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but they're trying. So you can essentially build a small unit in the back of your backyard, but that's not protected against discrimination of various forms, especially when it's on your own property. So I really just want people to lobby for these things. We live in a country where healthcare isn't, guaranteed. We live in a country where housing isn't in the, Constitution guaranteed. Other cities, Spain, for example, housing is explicitly stated that, everyone should have access to this. We don't live in that, and there is a lot of wealth here, but obviously a large, distribution, a lack of distributing that. So, yeah.
There is no question this is a very difficult time for everyone.
I will say, though, I think spaces like this are really important, and I've really been an observer of them for a lot of the times. I've been in those seats and just kind of sitting in the back, when, whatever context I'm in or city I'm in, and I'm drawn to it. But I think the collaboration aspect is kind of the next step of my journey, and I really want to just kind of say thank you, and also just encourage people to get out to spaces like that. Third spaces are so big. In San Francisco, they have the Harvey Milk Center, which is the oldest one of the few public wet dark rooms in the country. And that's a great third space where people can congregate and create and discuss. And
Community.
it's community building, right? So even in like the midst of all these challenges, there are those collaborations. And I'm very grateful for my friends and professors who have kind of helped me arrive to that point, you know?
Yep, we're all stronger by being together.
Yeah. Final question here before we move on to the next presentation. Steven Oriol is our keynote speaker, and he still shoots analog, he still shoots film. How important is that medium to you in your process?
Very important. Like I said, I started shooting digital. My good friend Almani started shooting, and I would help out, kind of pose, and but I think like with analog, it's just so personal. It's very cathartic. Like you can be in a dark room, literally, kind of explains itself, for hours, and it's just to kind of enter a flow state. I also think it just kind of contributes to like a timelessness of the photo. It's very personal, and I've given some of these photos to people as a gift. It's blood, sweat, it's tears. I think I'm someone who like really is most comfortable, honestly, in subtext. You know, it's very hard for me to find the words in whatever language. You know, English is my primary language, but to find the words to kind of like say adequately what I'm feeling or what I'm trying to critique or all of these things. And I feel like with analog film, the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. And, I'm just glad that's a medium and a tool and like something I can extend towards others, for others.
Well, great, thanks, Tommy. Give it up for Tommy, everybody. Thank you. All right, and on to our final presenter. Christina Yao is a China-born, Calgary-based artist working in photography, video, and installation. Her work explores relationships, identity, and place through a cross-cultural lens shaped by living across the US, Colombia, and Canada. She holds a Bachelor of Design in Photography with distinction from Alberta University of the Arts. She is presenting her body of work entitled Near or Far. Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be part of this conversation. My work mainly explores trust, power, and vulnerability within intimate relationships. First, I would love to share a few artists who have inspired me along the way. One of them is Jeff Wall, Canadian photographer. I was really fascinated by his photograph, Micmic, from 1982, which was inspired by a racist incident he witnessed in Vancouver. The image shows a white couple walking past an Asian man on the street, while the white man placing a mocking eye gesture towards him. What interested me most was that photograph looks like a spontaneous documentary moment, but it was actually very carefully staged. He usually used cinematic techniques to construct reality, and the tension between reality and performance really influenced how I think about. Also, living across different cultures, I became very aware of social expectations surrounding relationships and identity. I find human relationships fascinating because they are very complex, unpredictable, and constantly shifting. My ongoing project, Near or Far, started as a personal exploration of my relationship with myself and how it shapes my connections and relationships with others. And my own intimate relationships tend to be short-lived, and I've never experienced a long-term relationship, which makes me aware of the layers within intimacy, the way closeness and distance can exist at the same time, and also the tension between wanting to be seen and being scared to expose too much. I create stage photographs of my friends in their private spaces, drawing from their personal stories and fragments of their relationships to construct these narratives. At the same time, I project my own doubts and barriers I experience in relationships onto these situations. Sometimes I cast my hinge dates as my models and place myself within the frame. I really enjoy doing that because I can be both observer and also the participant. So through this imagined relationships, I examine my own desires, insecurity, and patterns of intimacy. In the photo, I think the previous one, where my friend is watering the plants and I'm kneeling next to them, I asked my friend to perform as this one, I asked him to perform as their caring partner. So I was thinking about the act of giving and receiving within relationships. Giving is often associated with generosity and emotional strength, while receiving can sometimes be viewed as passive. Through this image, I wanted to question that assumption. Although my physical position in this image may appear submissive, but I'm interested in how receiving care can also be an active role, one that requires vulnerability, trust, and self-love. In another image where one man is shaving the other's head, I was thinking about how acts of care and love can sometimes blur into forms of control. Allowing someone to care for you can also mean placing a certain amount of trust in them and giving up a degree of agency. I'm interested in that emotional complexity within close relationships and in the quiet negotiation between control and care. While making this series, I was thinking about how to create a sense of consistency across the images. So I started to use the couch as a recurring element because it feels like such a personal and intimate piece of our everyday life. And there were 3 images were placed together. I think it's coming up next. As the sequence where my role shifts each time. In the first one, I was being cared for while lying on the couch. In another one, I became an outsider, intruding upon a moment of intimacy. And the last one, I was the one offering care. Through these shifting roles, I wanted to explore how emotional dynamics within relationships are constantly changing. And this is a still ongoing project, and through this work, I wanted to continue explore the tension between what is performed for the camera and what becomes emotionally revealed through the process. I often ask my friends to send me photos of their spaces and outfits beforehand so I can plan the photo shoot in advance. But I realized even though I like to plan as much I could, once I'm there with them, I end up improvising because there were so many unpredictable elements like the lighting and how they engage with the camera, how comfortable they feel, and how much they trust me. So the images became a mix of planned and improvised moments. Sometimes the photos turn out completely different from what I expected, but that's also what makes photography so interesting. It's never the same, just like relationships. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a question for Christina?
In having all these friends, hinge dates, yourself sometimes in those photographs, has anything really surprised you by your person's response to being in a photograph or your own response?
I think this project made me reflect on how expectations would shape your relationships. Like I would often carry ideas of how love, connection should look like. Like, oh, if he does this, that means he's interested in me. But I think those expectations would create distance rather than closeness. So now when I look at, I used to look for clarity and certainty in relationships, but through this project, I started to feel more comfortable with ambiguity and changes in relationships.
But you also, sorry, Rollence, you also use a large format camera, correct?
No, actually, I shoot digitals.
But are you using, I thought you used a bigger, you stage them sometimes in public places. You ask people.
Yeah, there was a project I did, it was a residency I did in Calgary, and I was asking strangers to come into the gallery to sit on the couch. So it was a project called Strangers on the Couch. So it was like very improvising because I have no time to prepare and I don't know what they are wearing or what their relationships look like. So it was a good challenge for me to just talk to strangers and collaborate with them.
I'm sure you learned a lot through that.
I enjoy that a lot because I usually spend a lot of time to plan those photo shoots. So it was, sometimes it's hard to enjoy it because you feel like, oh, today I should.
Christina.
Thank you.
Christina is our final presenter, and I think we'll wrap it up, right?
Yeah.
So this concludes our discussion panel, but before we conclude, we have a surprise and an announcement. Ellen, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, all four of you. Capture One has given you a gift certificate for an all-in-one subscription for the year. So yeah, it's very exciting. We want to thank Capture One for
Thank you, Capture One, and thank you, Inglewood Photo Festival.
Yep. We want to thank Amadou and Krishna and everyone here who listen to these young people. This is our future. So our future is here. Our future is strong. Very excited to have been here today. Thank you all.
Let's give it up for the next generation of photographers. Thank you, everybody.